Hello and welcome to another one of Beatty's quick tips. We call them advice at the Vise. Today we're going to start a series of presentations on thread torque. Hi there, I'm Al Beatty from Boise, Idaho. Thread torque is a hidden force that you'll deal with on every fly that you tie for the rest of your life. That may be a wide and crazy statement, but let's take a quick look at a PowerPoint to get a better idea of what we're talking about. Fly tying thread torque. What is it? We have two definitions on the next slide. One from the dictionary, one our own based on input from other fly tyers. And how do we get rid of it or deal with it? Today we're going to talk about applied pressure. But first, let's take a look at torque. And right here in this slide, we've got it as a noun and a verb and a variant. Basically, as a noun from the Webster's Dictionary, it's a force that produces or tends to produce rotation or torsion. You can see there it talks about delivering torque to a drive shaft on a car. Now listen to this, because if you understand it, you're probably a little bit more educated than I am. It says, a measure of the effectiveness of such a force that consists of the product of the force and the perpendicular distance from the line of action of the force to the axis of rotation. Wow, that's just about as clear as mud. Anyway, it's called a turning or twisting force. I can understand that part. As a verb, it imparts torque, causes to twist. Well, we've taken that thought and input from other fly tyers and our own experience at the Vise, and we have our own definition. And we call thread torque the force applied to a material in the direction of rotation of an under tension strand of thread or other material around a stationary object, usually a hook shank, but it can be other things, causing the material to move from one position to another. Sometimes that position is a desired position. Sometimes it's not. How do we stop it? How do we deal with thread torque? We'll refer to it as TT, stopping the effects. Today we're going to discuss applied pressure in three forms. Another equal and opposing force, pressure after the fact, and direct pressure. Here I have a hook in the vise. I've attached the tying thread, 2 turns in front of the crossover point and then wrapping back. I also have a strand of thread going back that way. It's the waist thread. It could just as easily be a material that's going to be applied to the hook. But what I want you to notice is what thread torque looks like. Let me take a real close-up. Now, watch carefully as I wrap. I'm going to relax the tension on this thread right here. This thread here that I'm flipping up and down, I'm going to relax the tension so that as I start to wrap, I want you to notice, see how the thread coming out of the bobbin is pushing the looser thread to the other side. That's thread torque. Let me back up. Because one of the ways to deal with thread torque, we remember the equal and opposing force. Well, if we put this thread right here, the one I'm pulling up and down on, if we put tension on that straight back at about a 45-degree angle, give or take, and start to wrap, it doesn't go anywhere. It just stays right there. In fact, let me zoom back in so you can get a good look, and you'll notice that torque, if you will, from the thread coming off the bobbin does not affect the thread that's holding back. Why? Because they have equal and opposing force. That can be used to your advantage to know that. I want you to also notice, and we've talked about it in the base wrap, but we're going to talk about it now. I want you to notice that if I take a wild turn back like this, if that tension on this thread right here drives that turn right back in, it'll make a good thread base. But let's get back into the looking at the various things that we want to check on. Now we're going to just leave this thread here like that. And what we're going to do is to take a look at that slide again so we can remember just what we're going to be looking at next. Pressure after the fact. Okay, well, let's take a look at pressure after the fact and see what that really is. Now, I have here a piece of Antron yarn, and I just took a flame and kind of singed the end there so it wouldn't fray all over the place on me. Because what I wanted you to see is, let me just get back forward here. We're going to zoom in, and I want you to watch thread torque push this away. You see how it's on the other side there? Now, pressure after the fact, I want you to notice that I bring my finger in, and I'm going to, I normally would put my thumb there, but you won't be able to see anything. So I'll just give that a twist. Pressure after the fact, it moves it back to the position that we wanted it on the top of the hook. Pressure after the fact. Well, let's take a look at that last one. Direct pressure. Well, what is that? This is the one that we probably use in 80% of our tying, and it's a maneuver so minute you almost don't recognize that it's even happening. And that is the finger, this trigger finger right here. What it does is it sits right here, and I'm holding this material, thumb and forefinger. Let me slide the thumb back, and I want you to watch my trigger finger on left hand. See how that kind of twists and rolls? That's how you control that material in this particular application. Let me show you what I'm talking about. As I wrap, as the thread comes up and over, I roll my finger forward, forcing the material to stay there. Let's take a close-up look at that. Rolling my finger like this to force that material to stay on top. It's not after the fact, it's at the same time. There we've taken a look at thread torque. It's kind of a hidden force. It tries to position materials where you don't want them. Wait a minute. We talked on the second slide about, in fact, let's take a look at that second slide. Thread torque. Right at the very bottom, the last sentence, it says, move from one position to another, the desired position or the undesired position. Well, we're going to show you how to use the thread torque to place a material at the desired position. Here we've been keeping it, forcing it to be on top. Well, what if we wanted to put a rib material on, for example, and we wanted to force it on the bottom of the hook? We'd use thread torque to position that material there. All right, there we go. Now, we'll just place that on the side of the hook, and you see how thread torque pulls that down and under. Remember, the second one was the direct pressure. We're going to push it so it's on the bottom, and now we're going to hold the material under tension to force it to stay on the bottom. The three things that we just learned are all in play right there. And now that material is being placed directly on the bottom. Now, if we wanted to, we could do the direct pressure method that we talked about, only we would take our thumb this time and roll it like that. And we do this a lot. Rolling the thumb so that the thread comes off of the thumbnail, and at the same time the thumb is pushing that material and making it stay on the bottom. That simple maneuver on the offside, when you want it on top, you roll it forward, or on the bottom, you roll the thumb forward, allowing the thumbnail to direct the thread where it goes, at the same time pushing the material to the bottom of the hook. Anyway, that's the tip for today.